I figured that there was a gap in the market. That's the gap that was left, and I tried to find something to fill it. And still to this day, no one's been able to find the brand, so I decided to do it myself.
So this is your founder journey now, isn't it?
This is now 4 years in, trying to get it to market. I've failed a couple of times with factory partnership, with potential business partners, with potential investors, but all of those knocks and all of those learnings have led me to be exactly where I'm meant to be at.
Denim, you're just very good at denim.
Yeah.
Can you forecast what people are going to buy?
To a degree, yes. I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode with Founders with Nick. We have an absolute cracker for you today. This one is for the fashionistas. So if you're not into fashion, can you fuck off, please? Okay, you don't want to watch this at all. It's going to be terrible. You're going to hate it, okay? We have a first-time founder. I think he's maybe week one in. It's certainly not 3 or 4 or 5 months. And his name is Ben Hurren. He's to my left. It's going to be super interesting. A lot of little gold nuggets here for you. Anybody that's looking to start a fashion brand. I know as a kid I always wanted to start my own t-shirt company. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, Ben Hurren.
Good morning. Good morning.
Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm really interested by this because I think we spoke last night on the phone. I feel like we've all got a fashion company in us. I don't know why that is, but I feel like we've all got a fashion company in us. I think the opening question of this Thursday morning is why fashion?
I guess, we'll go back to being 15, 16 years old and getting a part-time job in a local store in my hometown. And every so often on the shop floor, the clothes would change, right? So there'd be new collections coming in. And I had a sort of like a burning question within me that was, well, who makes these decisions? Because some of the clothes that came in I agreed with and some of them I didn't. And the store manager said to me, well, they're the buyers. They're the fashion buyers that make these decisions. So I was like, okay, well, how do I become a fashion buyer then? Because I, decided that I really enjoyed clothes and the changeover of seasons. So she said that, so it's the fashion buyers. We have a head office in Edinburgh, and living in Kent, Edinburgh was a bit far for me to travel up to. So fortunately, a friend of ours was a merchandiser at a company called Harvey Nichols, one of the big department stores in London. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to get a couple of weeks work experience in the buying office and absolutely fell in love with it. Fashion and clothes is one thing, but then the business side of it also really interested me as well. And never looked back. Every half term from school and college, I was in the Harvey Nichols buying offices, ticking off order confirmation. I mean, it was heavily administrative at that point. I think I barely actually touched a physical piece of product until maybe 4 or 5 years later. But it was just it became an obsession, really. I was just obsessed with the business side of it as well as the clothes side of it. And fast forward 20 years now, I've, had quite a wonderful career working at some of the biggest retailers in the UK. And along that journey, had ambitions of having my own clothing brand, and here we are today.
Very, very cool. Harvey Nichols, I remember I used to work at the Mandarin Oriental Hyde Park Hotel, listeners.
Nice.
As I nearly got fired 3 times, so please. And opposite was Harvey Nichols.
Indeed, yeah.
And I remember it just being this massive organism. It was like, I think back then, not throwing any shade, Harvey Nichols, but I think back then it was like pretty decent, creme de la creme. It's like maybe 15 years.
Yeah, it was up there.
It was really up there. You go in, it was an event.
Yeah, it was probably when I was there. I don't know.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. And I guess I think what would be interesting to understand is when you did the internship. Would you say what was that like? Did you have we always talk about mentors on the show. Did you have anybody that refined your ability, or were you just really good at sourcing, looking, purchasing, and then it just went off the rails?
Yeah, I think it's important that you find someone like that throughout your career that lends advice or has an interest in your development and in helping you progress. So for me at Harvey Nichols, it was a gentleman called Terry Betts. He gave me my first full-time job in menswear buying. So I was his buying assistant. And I guess that I'd like to think, maybe whether this is true or not, I don't know, but I'd like to think that he saw some similarities in me to him, to himself, personality traits and things. Yeah, he did wonders for me, to be honest. And he was someone that actually I looked up to and aspired to be further down the line. So as much as he would teach me along the way, I was kind of like, well, how can I emulate him, and how does he conduct himself in business and stuff?
Shout out to Terry.
Shout out to Terry.
What was a couple of things when you walked into Harvey Nichols, or at least the industry, you thought, shit, I did not think about that, or any things you thought? I think the question is like, is there anything you walked in and went, right, that is not what I thought that would be?
Oh yeah. There's quite a misconception, I think, of people outside the fashion industry. You know, when you see people going to fashion shows and traveling around the world and all that kind of stuff, don't get me wrong, that's amazing, but there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of sitting in front of a computer, you know, analysing numbers, sales forecasts, have we got the right stock, you know, is it in the right places, all that kind of stuff. So yes, there's a nice level of glitz and glamour to it, but there's also a lot of admin and a lot of computer screens. So
okay, like that, yeah, not my sort of scene. That would be not my scene. Okay, so Harvey Nichols, you had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You had a good time. How long did you do that for?
All in all, I was there for about 6 years, or just over 6 years. That took me to a company called Matches Fashion. At that time, the company had just sold off 20% of the business to a private equity company, and it just exploded. We were a very small team going through seismic change and a seismic level of growth. Heavily .com based with Matches, so then it was learning a different side of the business, because Harvey Nichols is, you know, it's a retailer that has 5 physical stores, so that was pretty much a brick and mortar focused retailer, and then flipping into Matches Fashion that was predominantly online, although they had 4 stores around sort of suburbs of London, so in very sort of affluent areas, but the main focus of the business was .com. So then learning a different type of fashion buying. So, you know, how does a product look on the website? How does it capture someone's attention? And that was really interesting. But I mean, yeah, we were a team of 2 on menswear buying around 300 brands. So it felt like we were just never at home.
That I'm so fascinated by that, because there will be some form of behavioral science when either going into a retail shop and or online. So is there anything that you can like share, or tips and tricks whereby, you know, the rails being angled at a certain angle, or is it for instance like the layout of a retail shop? I mean, I don't know, I'm not that analytical, so I would walk in, I don't know, being a bloke, you'd probably get some stuff and leave. But I can imagine for, you know, discerning customers or you know, people that really love their fashion, is there little like tips and tricks you do to make it more appealing? You know, I understand you got the window shopping, which I assume is the big piece. Do you even want to sell that big piece, or is that just to entice? Is that even a do you know what I mean? Like almost like oh wow, that's quite something. I wouldn't buy it. I'm interested.
Yeah, there's something which is called the 80-20 rule, right? So when you're thinking about the money that you have to spend on a brand, 80% of your budget, typically you'd want to go on what's called a commercial product. So something that you know is going to sell and you're going to sell quite high volumes of. And then the 20% is just a bit of a sprinkling on top that's interest. And that might be something that's come down the runway that is so outlandish, but you know, the press are talking about it and people have seen it on social media and something like that. So those kind of things are sort of like the dangling carrot that then converts them into buying the more commercial pieces. So when you're thinking about fashion retailers just online, you have to have a lot of those dangling things. If you think of people's attention span when you're scrolling through a website, you only have, you know, a matter of sort of seconds or milliseconds to capture someone's attention to then get them to click through and buy it. In physical stores, there's a lot more things that you can play around with. So we talk about retail theatre. So if that's kind of activations or events in store or a really elaborate shop fit, there's so many different things that you can do in physical retail to capture someone's attention. But on a website, you have to think you only really have the product or video content or static content.
I'm seeing a lot more retailers now do the retail theatre. So there's a company called Batch and Vintage Threads as well. Vintage Threads is like it's luxury secondhand garments. And then Batch have just launched a new retail store in Covent Garden where they changed their retail store and make it a event space.
Cool.
So it's all multi-use, and I can certainly see that being another bucket of revenue, another stream of revenue.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Another question just on the retail side of things. Buying habits. Always been interested in this. Is it, can you predict quite sort of, or can you forecast what people are going to buy? Pretty much. I know that's a bit of a mystic Meg question, but
to a degree, yes. I mean, guys are creatures of habit, right? You know, you have, when I'm talking to myself, it might resonate with some other people, but if I'm going shopping, I know exactly what I'm going for, where I can find it, generally speaking, roughly how much it's going to cost. And as much as I love fashion and clothes, when I go shopping, I just want to get in and get out. I don't want to have to, faff around and all that kind of stuff. So, and generally speaking, we'll buy a new coat when it's so cold outside that, we can't stand it anymore. Or
Correct.
We're going on holiday, we'll leave it to the week before to buy some new shirts or T-shirts and things like that. So with guys, you can kind of predict, key moments throughout the course of a year when they're going to be coming in for certain things. So at that point, it's just making sure the right products on the shop floor are available to buy at the right time.
Just listening to you that is so true. I'm smiling because it's so right. There's no I've never woken up. Listeners, viewers, please do write some comments down below if you have planned days. You maybe feel a bit frivolous, but I think it's so. It's like if I buy underwear, I'm like, okay, I'm out of underwear this time. I'm gonna have to buy.
I literally wait until Christmas to see if I get any given.
Do you remember the socks? We used to get like socks and Lynx Africa
all the time. And then one day it just stops. I'm like, hang on a minute, I was reliant on that.
I really liked Lynx. I'd love to know. Okay. So let's say so matches. You had a good time. Matches.
Yeah, matches was good fun.
Nice people.
Great people.
Yeah.
I mean, intense. It was really, really intense, but also exciting just because of how fast the company was growing. And that actually then took me to Selfridges. The gentleman we mentioned before, Terry Betts, he had just started as the director of menswear at Selfridges.
Okay.
And I got a call from him and said, look, we have some opportunities. Would you like to come and interview? And I did. And then I joined Selfridges in October of 2014. And it took me right up until to COVID. Yeah, so I was there for six years.
There will be people listening that will have an interview in the next couple of weeks with a large department store, just a big name. Any tips and tricks?
Understand the business. Try your best to understand the customer. Have a good understanding of the area of the company that you're interviewing for. Sorry, and have ideas. There's no poor preparation leads to poor performance at the end of the day. But so I would always make sure that I was going in knowing exactly who I thought the customer was, where I thought there would be opportunities, and a little bit about the interviewer who's interviewing you as well. So do a little bit of background on that. I've been blown away in the past when I've interviewed someone and they've been on my LinkedIn profile and checked up on my career history and asked me questions about my journey. So
powerful when you switch it back, as we're talking off camera, when you eventually ask me some questions, if you don't have any questions, it's like you haven't been listening.
Of course.
You've obviously not been listening because you cannot sit through. It's inhuman. Is that even a word? It's inhuman not to ask something at least. Like, what's it like working here? I mean, basic stuff. But I mean, I would love to know when you walked into Selfridges. I'm a big football fan, Bolton Wanderers, everybody knows. Was it like signing for Madrid when you walked into Selfridges? Was it just like a different? You're like, shit, these people know what's going on.
It was always, coming up. It was, Harvey Nichols had a bit of a moment, but it was always Selfridges and Harrods, right? They were the two biggest. So the moment that I got the call, I was like, right, this is it, and it's amazing that even still to this day, how in such high regard people hold the department, so even, to work there or to go shopping there, to carry the bag, it was a big thing. And then when I got the job, it was mega,
That brand equity, I think they call it in the founder world.
Indeed, they do. Yeah,
which we've got none of. So, okay, were you naturally good? You mentioned menswear a few times. Was there? I assume there's loads of subcategories. Forgive my ignorance. Were you naturally good at buying certain type of menswear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, so I started as the casual wear and denim buyer, and denim was where I really found my niche. When I took over the department, it was turning over about 3.5 million a year, and I grew it to just shy of 11 million in 2.5 years as the buyer. So, and it was just learning a few fundamentals, and then making sure that I constantly delivered on that, and also you have your head in sales reports every single week. It's being able to identify where the opportunities are quite quickly, and then really getting after them. Equally, seeing where the risks are and the problem areas are, and being able to deal with them quite quickly as well. So,
what's a really, just for the listeners, what's a really glaring opportunity and also massive risk? That can you walk into something and go, right, lads, we're fucked here. That's okay.
Yeah. It's equally. You'll have a sales plan, right? And that's a weekly number of revenue that you want a brand to take. If someone is massively overperforming against that, then right, okay, that's the glaring opportunity. We need more stock. Like, let's push it out to more stores. Let's really, really get behind it. And on the other end, if someone is massively underperforming and not doing anywhere near the sales that you need to, it's just wasted space on the shop floor. So we switch it out, find something new, and then the process repeats. So.
Okay.
As layman terms as it can be. Yeah. There's a lot more to it than that for the retail buyers out there.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, give us. Let's press on that point. Give us a little bit more then of that. So what was the? Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear.
I'd just like to break it down quite layman terms. But with denim, right? There's so many other analytics that you can go into. It's the number of sizes. There's leg lengths. There's fits, skinny, straight, slim, taper, wide legs. There are macro trends in denim as well. At the moment there's a whole wide straight leg thing happening. The skinny thing will probably come around in another year's time. It's just about being reactive and on having your finger on the pulse as to when those shifts happen. Because if you put all of your eggs into one basket and that doesn't come off, then you could be fucked. So you have to constantly pay attention to.
I find it fascinating. I honestly, because it's such a non-entity for me. Because I'm like, let's get a pair of jeans. I don't know if I'm like other men, but I just literally go, I'll get a pair of jeans. But I can imagine you get a buyer who's like, I actually want a boot cut. I actually want a slim, wide leg. What you said earlier, what's in trends? Like, how the heck?
Yeah, it can be a bit of a minefield to navigate as a customer. Walking into, say, someone like Selfridges that has such a vast array of jeans in there from a multitude of brands. So you'll have an idea of the price that you're prepared to pay for a pair of jeans. You'll need someone on the shop floor who's able to guide you. They'll look at your build and say, you might be a tapered fit as an example. These are the brands that have the best tapered fits. These are the price ranges. So you need someone to be able to help you. But then coming back to that creatures of habit thing, as a guy, if you find a pair of jeans in a fit that you like, and there's multiple colours available for you or multiple washes, then chances are you're going to go back and repeat, and then you're almost hooked into them for a while until something else comes along or you move into another brand.
100%. I can try and carefully word this, but are women just more interested in fashion? I think they probably maybe they don't want to lead you on for an answer, but are women more interested in fashion, do you think, inherently?
Yeah, I think they are, yes. And also, there's a lot more variety available for female consumers than there are guys. But then, coming back to the point of guys, will buy something out of pure necessity. I think whereas with female consumers, they have the foresight to think ahead and think, well, I'm going to this event, or I'm going here, or we're going on holiday, or it's going to be winter soon. They'll start pre-planning and buying things further in advance.
Very good.
They are, but also they're happy to go through the refund and exchange process as well, and it's just a constant cycle. Whereas if I buy something and it doesn't fit me, I can't be asked to go return.
Why is that? That is blown my mind. It's so true, man.
I don't know.
It's so true. I don't understand.
I think it's it's just the additional effort that we would have to go go and exchange something. If I go in somewhere and I buy something, I just want to go in there and get out. I don't want to have to go in and deal with the whole exchange process and everything else. So, but yeah, with female consumers, they're more they're happier to do that. So.
It's amazing. Okay, question as well. Selfridges, what would you change? One thing. One thing. Well, let's say you walked in there today and you went, right, if you own the gaff, and you thought, right, okay, I'm Mr. Selfridge. Okay, what would you change pretty much immediately?
I hope the recruiters are looking. I don't look. I had such a good time there. If it wasn't for COVID, and so I was made redundant because of COVID at Selfridges. Had that not have happened, I would like to think that I would still be there. It was such an amazing company to work for. They encourage you to interact with every single department in that business, be it creative, marketing, visual merchandising, property, events, legal, everything. And the whole premise of it is so that you're upskilling yourself to eventually become the managing director of the company. So although I was a buyer for Selfridges, it was a lot more than that because of how many touch points you had with different areas of the business. So what would I change about it?
Promise, Aaron, I'm going to need one thing. Going to need one thing. I'm sure it was a great place. It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
No. It is still a great place. I'd like to see it back at, what it was pre-COVID, where it was the number one destination for shopping in the UK. There's been, Harrods are having a great time at the minute. They've just spent a lot of money refurbishing the menswear floor and the womenswear floors. It looks phenomenal. So I think it needs a little bit of gravitas back. So.
Okay, a little bit of gravitas. Where do you just final question for Selfridges? I'm just fascinated by it. Where do you see Selfridges in like 20 years time?
Gosh, I mean, it's an institution, isn't it? I think it's always going to be here. So, I think one thing that they've always done very well is continually be able to reinvent itself and constantly evolve. So, I think as long as they hold to those principles, then they'll still be around. It will still be a destination in London. So, and hopefully stock in my jeans. So
well, it's a good segue actually. So after Selfridges though,
after Selfridges, I went to a company called Frasers Group. That consists of retailers like Sports Direct, USC, Flannels. I did a 2-year stint there, which was good. It was interesting. Different kind of retailer altogether. Sort of different buying mechanics and just a massive volume business. It was huge. And then after that, I went to a British brand called REISS. I was there.
We love REISS.
We love REISS.
We love REISS.
I led a new part of their company. It was a third-party brand proposition. So they wanted to introduce brands to REISS.com that added value, that gave a different product proposition for their consumers. So and that was fun. That was a good. It was a good couple of years actually. I left there in June 2024, and then I set up my consultancy, Concept 24.
There we go. So I suppose this is your founder journey now, isn't it?
Yep.
So a lot of people were really curious to see what made you want to start your own business, because we always, every time somebody listens to this, or I speak to people on the street, random people on the street, or have conversations with people, they always say they want to start a business.
Yeah.
Did you always? Simon Squibb says it's an entrepreneurial muscle, which I can get behind, sure.
Yeah.
So what was it? Was it a couple of things, or was it like actually you woke up and thought, no, come on, I'm Ben Hurren now.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it.
I suppose I read a definition of what could you call it? Definition? No, it was something like if you're an entrepreneur or you have entrepreneurial spirit. If you're in a 9-to-5 and you find yourself daydreaming about ideas and things that to take you out of the 9-to-5. I always had a bit of a hustler spirit, I suppose, from a very young age. From buying and selling things on the playground. We won't say what. And I would find myself throughout my career, there would be days where I would daydream, or I'd come up with ideas of my own businesses, fashion brands, obviously, because of my because of the career that I chose. And then probably the latter part of my Selfridges career, I'd get requests from people, from friends, from industry friends. What do you think about this? Or could you introduce me to this person? Could you connect me here? Come and review this, and just all questions around advice based on my experience. And then when I was, fast forward to Flannels and then also to REISS, those questions and those advice requests were coming through thick and fast. And I was like, well, there surely is a business here, and it feels like it's a consulting type business. And so I did a couple of projects on the side of a 9-to-5 job, trying to build the consultancy, but it was really hard. Your brain can only do so much, and 9-to-5 jobs are quite strenuous. They are quite taxing. But from leaving REISS, I just decided to take the leap and really, really give it a go, to the point where it was like, if I don't do it now, then I'm probably never going to do it. I was in a position where I'd had probably 3 or 4 brands that were asking me for support. So there was enough there for me to say, right, okay, financially I'm going to be okay, because there's, I've got some work there. And then I just went for it. We're held back by fear, I think, of unknown. There's a nice level of sort of stability and comfort in fixed term employment in that 9-to-5. But that can sometimes hold us back as well. So I would say, if you've got a burning desire to go out and do it, like just go, go for it. It's okay to fail. I've failed a couple of times. You learn from those failures, and that's what helps you go back again and continually learn and grow. So
the worst case is you just get another 9-to-5. That is honestly, that's why.
Or you just go back. Yeah, exactly.
Literally,
you go back.
And actually, if I would rather hire somebody that gave it a go than didn't. I would rather go, okay, this person's got something. He's giving it a go. Why did it fail? Okay, okay, no problem.
Yeah,
I'd want to see that than just like, okay, just being told what to do, not challenging, not pushing back.
Yeah,
okay.
I felt like I because I'd thought about it for so many years as well, that I kind of owed it to myself to actually give it to really give it a good kicking. So, and what are we now? We're nearly 8 months in, and I wish I'd have done it sooner.
Here we go. Well, Ben, come on, it's now the highlight of the podcast. The jeans.
Yeah, the jeans.
The jeans. So give us a little flavour. Give us a little intro. What are we saying? How would you approach it?
So I during my time at Selfridges managing the denim room, I figured that there was a gap in the market at a particular price point for a clean looking jean. There was an amazing brand that occupied this space in the market, and then they decided to go on quite a high fashion trajectory. So shifting, they didn't want to be known as a denim or a casual wear brand anymore. They wanted to become a high fashion brand. So that's the gap that was left, and I tried to find something to fill it, and I couldn't. And still to this day, no one's been able to find the brand. So I decided to do it myself. And this is now 4 years in of trying to get it to market. And going back to those failures, I've failed in this, a couple of times with factory partnerships, with potential business partners, with potential investors. But all of those knocks and all of those learnings ultimately have led me to be exactly where I'm meant to be at the right time. So, I started really thinking about it in 2020 during COVID, because working from home, being able to shut laptop down at 5:30, not have to worry about commuter time, like I had the brain capacity to really be able to focus on it and start developing it. So found a factory, one in Turkey, one in Portugal. Started talking to those guys, started sampling, got first round samples through the sort of like the latter half of 2020. Then China went into its second or third lockdown, and all of their production got pushed into Europe. So my project for these little factories across Turkey and Portugal that were an opportunity for them, all of a sudden became a back burner, right? So it was just, they had all this new business getting pushed in from the Far East that became a priority for their businesses. So I just that was the first setback, and then no responses from the factories, lack of comms, all that kind of stuff, not really knowing where I stood.
Tough.
It was tough. It was tough.
So this is Ben. So this has been going on for 4 years.
Yeah.
You trying to really bring this to market.
Yeah.
Speaking to factories, sourcing the denim yourself, going there, trying it all.
Yeah.
Stretch the, I don't know, the stretch
everything.
The things. Yeah. Okay, fine. And then the brand's called.
The brand is called Vingt Quarte. That's French for 24. So my birthday is the 24th of September. It's a personal project, so I wanted the name to be personal to me. It's very hard to trademark 24, as you can imagine. So,
oh my God, how have you done that?
Have
you not?
Well, I called it Vingt Quarte. So.
Okay, fine. Love that. Yeah, okay, fine. I can imagine that being quite tough.
Yeah.
And then website's live.
So the website is live. So the product itself will be available for customers to buy in June on the company's website. Through May and June, I'll be presenting the collection to potential wholesale partners. So the likes of Selfridges, Harvey Nichols, and the aforementioned retailers. We'll take the collection out to Paris in June for Fashion Week, showing out of a friend of mine's showroom. And then we're out the gate. So
excellent.
It's the last, I would say, 8 months have really, really snowballed the brand, and that comes down to having a conversation with two industry friends of mine I've known for the best part of 10 years. They saw that I'd set up the consultancy. They were like, let's have a catch up and see if there's business that we can do together. And it was an innocent coffee, and I started telling them about the jeans, and they said, well, you need to talk to our business partners. So I said, okay. And then we went through 5 or 6 rounds of, call them interviews. They were more like conversations, really. And these guys thought that it was a very interesting opportunity to bring into their business portfolio. So they became my business partners just before Christmas, and it's just been been motoring ever since. So.
Okay, and well, congratulations so far. Very excited to see I've seen the websites, and the promo video. Very cool.
Thank you.
I think a couple of points. So. Denim, you're just very good at denim.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're gathering from this, right? You've obviously got a really keen eye. The couple of questions I've got. So anybody that wants to start a brand, what is some of the things you thought, okay, that's actually harder than I initially thought?
Well, I think for me, I always knew, I knew I was good at denim. I knew that I liked denim, and there's quite a flair and a passion about it for me. So obsession, maybe it might be a bit of a strong word, but there's definitely a real passion there. So for someone that's wanting to start a brand, I would don't do it just because, I think people's natural instinct is to go to a clothing brand when wanting to set up their own business, because we wear clothes every single day, right? So it does feel like it would be an easier one to set up. But really and truly, the fashion industry, it's so saturated with brands and product that you have to find a real USP or a niche or a reason for people to come and buy your product. So with mine, it's coming down to the quality of the fabrication, the fit, and the comfort of the jeans, added on to the price point that I'm asking people for. I'm not going to pull your pants down with the price of these jeans, but there's an incredible amount of durability to them as well. So if you wear these jeans 10 times, they're effectively costing you £10 per or £15 per wear. Sorry. But they're going to last you a lifetime. So
okay, that's the big bright light statement. Okay, interesting. And then how do you? So many questions. So how do you work with a creative director? Is it just you? Do you literally go, right, we want that wash, that wash, that wash? Do the factory then come back saying, Ben, you're talking nonsense, we can't do any of that? How does that dynamic? Do you text them saying, I need another 100 now? How does that even work?
So the creative director up until now has been me. I've been doing this myself up until last summer, really. A couple of people have helped me along the way. And I guess you realize as a founder, like, understand what your strengths are and what you're really good at, but also have an awareness as to what you're not good at and how you can ask people for help and for advice. So I have an advisory board. I've got people that I've worked with over the years that are very skilled in particular areas of business. So someone was a merchandise director, so he was able to help me on my forecasting and my stock buy. I could have done it myself, but the intricacies of merchandise planning, I don't. I'm not an amazing mathematician. I can do some sums, but to be able to calculate rates of sale or how many units you want to sell a week of particular washes, I wouldn't know how to do those mechanics. So I had to outsource some help for that. I've got the vision in my mind as to what I want the jeans to look like in content or in marketing campaigns, but I'm not a marketing creative director. So a friend of mine is a genius at that. So on my LinkedIn profile is the first behind the scenes video of what it goes into building a brand. So that's my friend who put that content together for me. So he traveled out to Istanbul with me. He was there filming the entire time. We were there for roughly 28 hours, I think it was, and it was non-stop filming. And then he's blended all of that content into this beautifully executed video. And then that he will be a part of this brand until either we have a fallout or or hopefully, I mean, touch wood, he's going to be a long-term affiliate of the brand, because I trust his vision and I believe in his vision, and he understands my vision for the brand, and it's the perfect synergy, really.
Well, Ben, let me just press you on that. What is the vision for the brand?
I want to create something that outlives me.
Legacy.
Yeah, it is. I have an ambition of what I want it to get to in 5 years. If we hit that number, then that becomes selling it off to a bigger entity, and buying a pub and having a good time in the countryside. But I want to create something that lives on, and it's something that my kids will be proud of, and that it when they see the jeans in the shop 20 years from now, it's like, oh, that was my dad.
That is very cool. So you potentially really think of an exit plan?
Absolutely. I think you have to, or at least have it in the back of your mind.
That is a big point of contention, what you've just said. With founders, I haven't spoken to thousands. I've spoken to maybe 100, and I've only been one for 9 months. And I've so many mixed reviews.
Sure.
They go exit plans are nonsense. If you're thinking about an exit plan, then you're not going to run a successful business. One goes, well, then how are you going to get out? Like, what are you doing it for? Is it a lifestyle business? Then some people they always say it's about the journey. But then you have other people in another bucket that just say, why don't you try and run a successful business first and then see where you're at? Because some people, we always glorify exits as founders. I think we all liquidity event, woo, cash, money. But I bet you there is some joy of actually just having a profit generating lifestyle business that it ticks all your boxes. So it may be a bit refreshing to hear also just a big view saying I've been thinking about this for 4 years already, and we're about to go to market. I know over the next 5 years that this brand is going to have every ounce of me and my being to get it to where it needs to be. Do I want to do that for 25 years? No, absolutely not. Love it. Yeah.
Do I want it to become something that allows me to live a life and provide a life for my kids? Absolutely. So yes, I have an exit plan in the back of my in the back of my mind. Is that the focus? No, because I've got a long way until I get there. But I mean, as I said, I've got other ambitions outside of having a jeans brand, but building something that outlives me, that I'm still able to benefit from from 20 years. Do you know what the top 5 factors are of a unsuccessful clothing company? Which I researched. You said you did some research.
So I think top 5, no audit. So number 1 is supply chain.
Yeah. Okay.
So massive supply chain issues apparently, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
The other one was deep industry knowledge, having a lack of deep industry knowledge, which I thought was, I mean, people surely must know what they're producing to sell.
Yeah.
Well, before I continue, those 2 points, I don't know. What are your thoughts on those 2 points? I guess.
Absolutely. If your supply chain is shot to bits, then you're not going to have a product to be able to get to market or to get in front of people. So, one of the key things for me was, having such strong foundations for this brand operationally. So the back end was absolutely watertight, so that when it does go to market, there aren't going to be any of these issues. So my business partners are one of the fastest growing logistics company in the UK at the moment, called Emerge Global. They will support me on everything back end. So with getting my goods from the factory into the UK, into the warehousing it, fulfilling direct to consumer orders, fulfilling shipments into retailers, and so everything is taken care of on that. Again, that's not my area of expertise, but fortunately I have partners that are experts in that field. That then allows me to focus on all of the front end and pushing the product and marketing it and focusing on developing future collections and so on. So yeah, thinking about or having an idea, I'm going to do a clothing brand, you think it's all about the product. Absolutely it is. But, build a really solid business foundation that is going to support you through all of your, all of the growth, or, all of the journey over the years ahead. Because if there are any loose chinks in the operation side of your business, then you will come unstuck.
Definitely. The second point is you've obviously got deep knowledge of the market space. That's why people came.
I'd like to think so.
I would be staggered. Can you imagine? Why did it go under? Not one pair of jeans sold, Nick. Yeah, I gave them all to my family. They even returned them.
I've got.
I'm sure it'll be fine, man.
I've got a few mates, so I might end up selling about 20 odd pairs in the first bed.
Do you want, it's maybe a bit more of an emotional question, but do you want there to be an emotional feeling when you buy your jeans? Do you want the consumer to feel like, actually these are just, I feel fantastic.
I want you to feel and look good. I think people always ask about, style and dress sense, and I think fashion is an expression of individuality and of your personality. You can be really out there with the outfits that you put on, or you can be quite pared back, but feeling good in the clothes that you wear is something that's always been quite important to me. It helps the way I carry myself and the way I conduct myself. So with these jeans, I want people to feel and look good in them. I want you to wear them, and your friends say, "Oh, what are they? They're really nice jeans. They feel nice." Or your partner or spouse to say, "Oh, yeah, they're nice." So yeah, there's a strap line. I've got to kind of quote it properly because it's my words, but I want it to breathe confidence into someone that wears it.
I like that. The only other trying to think of, do you want the business to be in that tier 1 jean bracket? I don't even know what tier 1 jeans would be.
I'd like it to be, I'd like it to become a force in the field, or certainly one of the go-to brands that people are, you've got names, legacy names like Levi's, there's Page Denim, 7 for All Mankind, Citizens of Humanity, Frame that's having a bit of a bubble at the moment, Nudi's still kicking around. There are all these huge brands that have been around for 20 plus years, some even longer. I'd like to break into this space and be a contender that people are actually considering, and maybe five years time actually be up there as one of the ones that people are going to first.
I would love that. I would love to see your name up there on the lights.
Me too.
We've only got about just over 5 minutes left. Something I always wanted to ask, why, maybe it's an obvious answer, but why are we not manufacturing the jeans in the UK?
It's hard. The cost, just the cost of it, to be honest with you. And maybe I'd like to think now with Brexit there is some manufacturing that does get kicked back into the UK, but it is just the cost of it. You can get things produced far cheaper in Europe, which is it's awful to say. That doesn't take away from the quality in Europe and other in other destinations, but fundamentally it does come down to price. I'd love to be able to support British manufacturing, but there is a price point thing. Businesses run on profit at the end of the day. So, and there's not much margin in it, unfortunately.
Sad.
It is sad. It really is.
That is sad. Because you've got a great story. It's beautiful. It'd be just a little cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
So it's made in the UK, made in
there's some other
Leicester.
There is that. There are other categories that I'm looking at for UK manufacturing, like outerwear, footwear as an example. So there are. It's starting with jeans, but eventually it will become a full men's ready-to-wear collection. So you'll be able to kit yourself out head to toe in Vingt Quarte further down the line. So, but yeah, I'm in conversations with a footwear manufacturer at the moment, with an outerwear manufacturer. That one's in Manchester and one is in Northampton. So I'm trying to find ways that I can support.
This is the next big brand.
It will be, yeah. It is. We'll talk. Yes,
Come on.
It is. Yes, it is.
Well, Ben, I just want to say thank you very much. I just want to actually ask you before we switch it over, is there anything, I'm learning, it's my trade, this is interviewing. Is there anything that you want to say? Maybe we've got a few moments now that you wanted to say that you maybe haven't, or
anything that I want to say? No, I think, look, for any aspiring founder, just go out and give it a go. No one's going to criticize you if it doesn't work, but just have fun with it. And I think you owe it to yourself to at least try.
At least try. Well, look, thank you very much for coming on. Honestly, it was fascinating from your stories all at the start. That guy that gave you the sort of a break as such, to where you are now. Truly fascinating. I think we're all going to be really interested to see. And where can they follow you somewhere?
Yes, you can follow me. So I'm Ben Hurren on LinkedIn. I'm Ben Hurren on Instagram. We are ventquarte.co on Instagram, and on my LinkedIn profile, you have the links to the website and everything else. So
it's really good. Awesome. Well, this is the segment of the show where, as I said earlier, you can ask me some questions. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. But I just want to say thank you so much. Do you know what? I could do this. We always say this, and we might extend it to 2 hours for season 2. But I could have asked you about like your content strategy, LinkedIn, retail store. Yeah. Like how do you keep yourself sane? Your mental health. There's all of this.
Tons. Yeah.
All of this. Tons. But we'll do it for.
Maybe there's a part 2.
Maybe there's part 2 when you come back and So and Ben, Turntables on Me. This is the segment, listeners and viewers. If you don't know, this is where we get the guest, the founder, to ask questions to little old Nick Langridge. She's accomplished nothing.
Little old Nick. Come on.
So I'll leave it with you.
So why? What made you decide to do the podcast? It's quite it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, do you know, I actually always wanted to be a late night talk show host.
What would you have called it? Late Night Langridge?
Yes. I did something before the Panny D called Late Night with Langer, which is on Instagram. If you really scroll, I'm off Instagram now.
Nice. Late Night
with Langer. And it was me interviewing people on the street.
Cool.
And I used to do this one ages ago. So I was 24, so like 8 years ago, and I'd go up to people and just interview them and ask them questions. I loved it, but I was so nervous. We did the editing, got the video, went in the next day, worked in insurance. My boss was like, "What are you doing? Like, that's ridiculous. You need to stop." And I stopped. So I suppressed it for a very long time, and then I did some comedy. But now I have no fear.
Yeah.
Now I'm 31, maybe a bit like yourself. I have no fear. You start a clothing brand, goes tits up, fine.
Yeah,
cool. Come at me. I don't care.
It's interesting isn't it, that someone told you that you shouldn't do it. I think coming back to you do get people like that throughout your journey that are doubters, but that's not actually a reflection on you and what you're doing. It's more it's personal issues. It's a them thing, So
absolutely, Ben. I remember the guy. I won't say his name, but he was actually a lovely guy. But I think and I remember being suppressed. And I was like, there's something in me. So then I wrote down my goals in December 2024. And it was like, I want to create 50 episodes of Founders with Nick.
Nice.
So,
and this is number
I think 10? This is 10, 11, something like that. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
There's no, I thought now or never really, I can't keep going on my life of next month, tomorrow.
Yeah, you do. It does get to a point, doesn't it, where you just have to you take the leap, don't you?
You also train your. I think I'm convinced you train your brain to then just kick things down the road because there's no repercussions.
Out of habit, right? Yeah.
Out of habit
and comfort. There's what was it once I did this. I mean, throughout the career, you do loads of coaching, right? With certain corporate entities that I've worked at. And there's this one thing, it's called the comfort zone, right? So you stay in an area of comfort that you know that you're really good at, you can do day to day. But the point is that you move yourself out of your comfort zone little by little. So then your comfort zone is growing, but you're actually developing and you're moving yourself forward, and you have to push yourself.
Only way. So yeah.
Nice.
That was,
okay.
That was it.
And then outside of the podcast, the business is going well?
Business is going well, yeah. We've got some really great clients. It's a white knuckle ride. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I do. But no, like your analogy, way out of my comfort zone. You know, I have no safety net. I do not have a backer. It is just me. I'm bootstrapping it.
Yeah.
You know, I have industry expertise. I don't have 50 years of industry expertise. You know, with Ellen Jar, you know, we are very good at doing what we do. I love it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than booking like the meeting for a founder. And then he goes, how did you get that? I'm like, well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, this is it. Or we close a deal and they go, fuck, you know, like, you know, so no, it's going really well. Big year ahead, you know, a bit like you with Vingt Quarte, got some numbers. You know, I think also just to be happy, I know it sounds a bit wet, but just being like, just being happy would be great. Which we're on course for, but no, the best thing I've done, a bit like you. Yeah. I should have
done it a long time ago.
Should have learned it a long time ago. So there you go.
Good.
But Ben, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Had a blast.
It's been a pleasure. It went really quickly. So.
Awesome.